are super grateful to have Nicole here. I've had the opportunity to hear her speak at one other event before, and she's phenomenal, has an amazing story. So I'm really excited for it, excited for all of you to be able to hear from her. And thank you so much for your time in driving up here. So
it was not a far drive. So that's
good. Yeah, Nicole is local to Southern Utah from St. George.
Live in St. George, and the weather is perfect. And
yeah, it's a nice day up here. We had snow on Tuesday, but today is great.
You know, when you live in St. George, you don't even know that it's winter. You just you drive 30 minutes, you go, oh yeah, it's winter time.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you. We really appreciate you being here. So
thank you for having me.
Rather than doing like a formal introduction, reading her biography, we like to just kind of get to know our speakers on the go a little bit. So I've prepared some questions for Nicole, but we also kind of wing it a little bit and just kind of let the conversation go. But then we'll also leave some time for all of you for Q&A at the end as well. So that way it doesn't have to just be the questions that I've come up with, and we'll get some from the audience as well. So Nicole, do you mind starting off by just telling us a little bit about you, your background, maybe a little bit about how you grew up and
totally
ended up where you are?
Yeah. So Nicole Tanner, founder of SWIG. I grew up in Victor, Idaho. So Teton Valley, Idaho. It's in eastern Idaho. Small town. My graduating class was 56 people, so really small. Grew up on a farm. My dad had a dairy farm and also had, he grew hay and wheat and potatoes, and he was also a seminary teacher for our church. But the fifth of 8 children, and just grew up knowing how to work hard, and you don't quit till the job's done. But the farm life is just such an amazing life to raise a family, and you just learn the value of hard work. And oftentimes I think that is maybe why I stayed the course of starting your own business, because it is not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of second guessing and pivots, but I think growing up on a farm really instilled that hard work, and you just don't quit. I mean, those cows have to be milked morning and night, right? No one else is going to do it, so you just got to get out there and do it. And luckily, my dad had 8 kids, so we were his hired hands, so it worked out good. But yeah, grew up in Teton Valley, Idaho. I went to Rick's College and got my associate's degree back in the day, and then on from there. But I have 5 beautiful children, and I have 7 grandchildren. My oldest daughter just had twins 2.5 weeks ago. So I've been in full grandma mode, or nana mode as I call it, down in Phoenix for the past 2 weeks. So the grandma life is the best life, actually. But yeah, I started SWIG in April of 2010 because of my love of Diet Coke. And honestly, it really was that simple. I would go to Sonic all of the time to get my drink fix, because they had the crushed Pebble Ice and the foam cup that would keep your drink colder longer. And I was going on a very regular basis for years, and a lot of times my experience in the drive-through line kind of fell flat. I felt like a number, like I didn't really matter, even though I was coming on a really regular basis. Oftentimes the line was slow because they were cooking and prepping food inside. And also the drink was just sometimes kind of so-so. It was okay, like all the way full of ice, and I got this much soda. I'm like, wait a second. So I just thought, I think there's a better way to be getting my drink fix, because I would appreciate it as a customer. And the story begins there. Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, and thanks again. I didn't realize you just had a couple more grandkids born. Just a couple weeks ago.
Just
so
barely.
Extra thank you for being here right after all of that.
Yeah, so happy to do so.
That's really nice of you.
Yeah.
Okay. So were your plans then, like you mentioned, you knew how to work hard and you kind of decided to go the entrepreneurial course. Was that your goal from the time you were a kid, or did you want to go back and work on the farm? Were you done with the farm?
No, luckily my dad sold the dairy cows when I hit high school. Thank you. And I've been on those combine harvesters and potato harvest, and up in Teton Valley. It's similar here to Cedar, but it is cold and snowy. So I did that for many years. No, my dad, as he got older, he started selling off pieces of the farm, and so by the time I graduated, he was down to few, minimum acreage. But No, I got my degree in office education. So I was an administrative assistant for several years, and my goal was to be a mom and raise my family. And I was a Mary Kay consultant for about, I don't know, 8 years, and I probably had about 8 team members on my team. I always have liked to, I like a challenge. I'm competitive, and I do like to, you know, build stuff, like build teams is what I love. I worked at McDonald's and Sizzler in high school and college, and so I loved that I could kind of make or break myself. Like if you're a server, if you're having a crappy night, you aren't going to make a lot of tips if you're not giving them, you know, good customer service. And I loved it when I could control that and really go, I'm going to just really give the best customer service I can. Then you made more money. So I've always kind of had that spirit in me of that fast casual experience, but I'm motivated to, you know, do well and surround myself with great people. But my main thing was I wanted to be a mom and enjoy that. So yeah, but then this idea came, and went from there.
Okay, great. So you told us a little bit about how the idea came. I feel like that's often how new businesses are started, is either you're a customer and notice things that could be done differently, better, more efficiently, or a place you might work that could do things differently, or new ideas that they could implement.
Yeah.
So then how did you kind of take that idea and make it become a reality? Because I think all of us probably have
like,
business
that's a great
ideas
idea.
all
How
the
do I do
time.
it?
But there's a big difference between
Huge.
an idea and making it become a reality.
So found a need that I would appreciate as a customer, and looked around to see if there was anybody else out there doing it. Went and sat outside of Maverick for a good couple hours and saw how many people walked in and out, which is fountain drinks. So I'm like, okay, there's other people doing what I would do, because I would do that too if I didn't go to Sonic. But then that means I'm buckling my 5 kids and going in, and they're going to grab candy and chips, and that's dangerous. So I could see that there was a need. If you could stay in your car and you just are serving drinks and, you know, maybe a cookie or treats, pretzels. I didn't see anybody out there doing that. And I'm like, I really think there's a need for this. I know that there's other people out there that like a good fountain drink, or a drink that they can customize that's theirs, but then make it in a fast drive-through line that they can get in and out, because everybody's time is so important. I mean, these are my needs. So I was like, I don't see that anybody's doing this. And then have them feel special in that drive-through line. I am a big people person. I know everybody wants to be made to feel seen and heard and feel special. And it sounds kind of crazy that was one of my goals starting Swig, is to make people feel special. But I do believe everybody has a purpose here in this life, and to be able to help them to feel special, even in a drive-through line getting a drink. So that was part of it to start. I just saw a need, and I didn't see anybody out there doing it, and so took a big jump. And did it.
So what did that jump look like in making the first? Like, did you have mentors, people that you could kind of rely on for help, or
no?
Where did you go to get started?
It was so looked up in the thesaurus under the word drink to come up with the name. And there's a lot of names for the word drink. Now, the younger people are like, what's a thesaurus? Like, that's why we have our phone. But
just Google now.
Yeah, you just Google it. Exactly. But the minute that it came to the word swig, I was like, that's it. Like, can I have a swig of your drink? Can I have a swig of that? It was short, simple. You know, have you ever seen companies that have like 5 words in their brand name, and it's confusing? But this was just like, I know what that is. That's a drink shop. So found an old beat up building by Dixie, or Utah Tech now. And it had been through the ringer. It had been a skate ramp park at one point. It had been a U-Haul rental place. It was vacant, and it needed a lot of TLC, but it had a huge parking lot. Who here has been to the original Swig? Yeah, it is a huge parking lot, right? So I could envision the cars circling around, like I saw in my head of like how I would want to be treated in that drive-through line, and I can envision cars coming to get their swig and then leaving. So you have to have a vision of what you're going for, and that was it. But it also was that he gave us the cheapest rent that we had for years. He was an older gentleman, 86 years old, Stan Gubler. And I think he was looking at us like, you are crazy. Like, how are you going to make money off of selling just fountain drinks? But just believed in it so much that I think you also have to make sure that it feels right when you're starting a company. Like, do you really believe that this will do well? Is it a long shot? Absolutely. But are you ready to live, breathe, drink it? And you have to be if you're going to go start something, because it's going to take a lot out of you. But it just felt so right. So he gave us the cheapest rent. I'll tell you, it was $500 for monthly rent. This was 2010, so not super long ago, but that was really cheap. Fixed it up ourselves, and had like 12 employees to start, 2 of which were my kids and my niece. And yeah, literally advertising, what I did is I took little flyers and put them on all the cars in downtown St. George, did dollar drinks for 2 months. I really believe that once they tried us, they wouldn't want to go anywhere else. And so I just had to get them in the door, and to get that swig experience as they're coming through and feel special. And then within a couple months, I'm like, okay, they're coming. People are catching on to this. Our own accountant thought we were crazy and told us later, a couple years later, that he told his receptionist he'd give us 6 months. He didn't think we were going to make it.
Because I'm assuming you were probably losing money when you were doing dollar drinks.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
It was advertising.
Yeah.
Didn't pay myself for several months because you can't. I was the manager, the payroll, the marketer, the everything. But I really poured myself into the store. I took orders. I did all of it. I wanted our customers to know, I see you. I'm here for you. I saw them on a daily. When I had to step away from managing that original swig, it was hard because they were my people. But it was just helping people to know there's a better way to get your drink fix. And some people will be like, I didn't even drink soda, but I love how I feel in this drive-through line. And now I'm drinking swig. I'm like, okay, good. So yeah, just slow and steady. And before we knew it, we focused on our team and our people. And we started off very basic. I tell oftentimes people that are starting their own business, you don't need to go so big. You don't have to have the best of the best. You don't have to have all the fancy equipment. Started off with literally a Casio cash register. That was it. Took orders on yellow sticky notes for 3 years. We didn't have a point of sale. There were no iPads. It was literally a yellow sticky note. Write it on the sticky note, pass it to the customer. The customer hands it to the team member at the window. She punches it in. We hand the sticky note to the drink maker, and then can we read their writing? Hopefully we didn't drop it on the ground and it's wet from the water. The fact that it worked the way that it did and was so successful is amazing. But we didn't know any better. We didn't have consultants that I went to. I'm like, I think this works. I think we'll just try it with sticky notes. Why not? A cool story is I know I needed a Coke machine in there because of my love of Diet Coke. But I also knew there were Mountain Dew drinkers and Pepsi drinkers, right? And I knew this was going to be a drink shop. So went to Coke and Pepsi and said, here's the idea. We want you in there. Coke's on it. And once Pepsi found out that Coke was already installed, they're like, sorry, we're not coming in. You have to either be a Coke place or a Pepsi place. And I'm like, well, Coke's already in. I really want you to come in. But time's ticking, money's going out the door. We're going to open. So I opened without my Pepsi machine, and we poured our Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Diet Pepsi drinks from 2-liter bottles into our swig cups that weren't logoed at the time. They literally had a bird on them because that's all that the supplier had. We didn't logo our cups for years because it was money we didn't have, and we couldn't do it at the time. So that's how simple it was. Within a month, so let me go back. So poured the gentleman this Pepsi drink, and he's sitting out on the front porch of the original swig, and he's drinking his Pepsi, and I opened up the window and I said, hey, how's your drink? And he's like, this is the best Pepsi I've ever had. I'm like, he has no idea. I just poured that from a 2-liter, but it's because of how he felt. Yeah. So it went back to we made him feel special, and he had no idea how it was prepared. And Pepsi wised up, and within a month, Pepsi brought in their machine, and we had Coke and Pepsi. And I feel like we created a market that didn't quite exist where Coke and Pepsi could coexist in the same building. And now there's a lot of competitors that are doing exactly what Swig is, and they have Coke and Pepsi products. So,
So you were like the leader in that.
I mean, I think so, but I didn't let it stop me. And so as you're coming up with your ideas, don't let something like that stop you. Like power through and just start. I could have thought, okay, I'm going to wait until Pepsi comes in, or I'll figure out something else. But I just was like, no, time's ticking, money is running. Let's just open the doors. We're ready.
Yeah.
Had the business license, got the business license at 3 p.m. on April 2nd of 2010. I'm like, do we just open the doors and say we're ready? And we did. We just opened the doors. I threw my 6'7" kid in a gorilla suit up on the corner of the boulevard in St. George, and with big signs saying "Come down." Yeah, and it was very mom pop grassroots. Yeah, those are the good old days. Honestly, I think back to that and go, "Aw, that was so good." Very busy, 5 kids, running all over, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
So
well, I think it speaks volumes, the excitement you created around it. So I lived out of state. I grew up in Southern Nevada, but it was only about an hour away from St. George. And so I remember that about the time you started, I was in high school, and there was all kinds of excitement from kids at the high school, where every time we were in St. George and you see the line of cars all the way around the parking lot.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, we got to go get swig while we're in St. George. So you did where even people out of state around the time you started, how quickly you're able to create the excitement.
Pretty surreal, for sure. Because everybody sells drinks. Everybody sells fountain drinks, gas stations, restaurants, movie theaters. Everybody does. So we had to be different. So we had to focus on that customer. We had to focus on that superior product. We had to focus on that speed. So those are the 3 things that built us, and we try to never stray from those 3 things. Anything we bring on the menu, if it takes longer than a minute to prep, it doesn't make the menu, because it'll go away from that speed. That is why I created it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and I'm still, I asked her if it was a little cheesy that I
no, wait, my drink's in the car. I should have brought my swig in and set it right there too. We could be sipping on it. We could be taking a swig. Yeah.
So that was the very first store, and I know you had told me when we talked a little bit before that your hope was, can one store be successful?
Please, one store, just pay the bills.
So now to look 15 years later, not even 15 years later, and where you're at now. Did you ever imagine that it would be turn into something so successful?
No. I mean, I always knew it was super special. I feel like anybody who starts a business, you believe it's your baby, and Swig is my 6th baby. But you believe it's so special, and you should. You should believe that it is so special. But I didn't know that others would buy into that and go, yes, this is our Swig. I used to say I should own stock in Sonic because I would go all of the time, and little did I know I would own my own drink company that would compete against Sonic. But I, of course, didn't see that going into it, but I knew it was special. I knew that every city deserved to have a Swig, because it is more than the drink. It's about how you feel in that drive-through line. It's about being a part of the community. And that's been the way it was from the start. So we're not trying to fake something that we aren't. That is who we are. Our first partners back in 2013, sat down with them, and he said, do you know that you caught lightning in a bottle? And I was like, well, I mean, I feel like I do because it's my baby. But he's like, no, you really did. And this was only 3 years in.
Yeah.
For some reason, it just, we caught a niche that was out there, and people, again, everybody sells fountain drinks. So I think it's just how we made them feel, and how it's so customizable. You can get your drink made exactly how you want it, and the creativity behind it too, I guess.
Yeah. So was that, I know you said the first 2 months you were selling drinks for $1, just tons of advertising, getting people to know about you.
People are like, advertise with us in the newspaper, on radio. I'm like, I don't have money for that, and I don't want to do that until I know I need it. Yeah. So be smart with your marketing dollars. Don't do it just because they say that you need it. So I did the What Women Want Expo twice, when we first opened up in April, and then I did it again in the fall. I just had a Swig bar and was just sharing cookies and drinks. And by that end of that first year, I'm like, I don't have time for what women want. Like, I love you, but I don't need it anymore. Yeah. We were busy. We were busy by year 1, for sure. So I didn't do a lot of advertising. It was word of mouth. Provide a great experience for your customers and focus on that. And marketing is always important, but when you're starting out, just focus on providing that great service for whatever you're doing, and they will tell their friends and family, and that's your best marketing.
Yeah. So it started to be successful very quickly then. So how long was it before you started thinking like, maybe I want to look into opening up a second store?
Yeah. So by year 1, I'm like, this crazy idea is actually working. Yay, thank you. By year 2, it's like, wow, we got to relieve this line because it was just wrapped, which is a really good problem.
Yeah.
So looked for another building. I'm like, okay, let's stay in St. George. It's a warm climate. We like to drink our cool drinks down there. Found an old foreclosed building. It used to be the Charlie's Malt Shop in St. George on the Boulevard. It had gone into foreclosure and got it for a really great deal again. Again, money's tight. Everything's just rolling back into the business. Got a really good deal. It was one of the only ones that we actually bought, and fixed it up again on our own, and opened the doors exactly 3 years later, and they're only a mile apart. People are like, that is crazy that you'd only put them a mile apart. Found the building super cheap. I'm like, who cares? They're a mile apart. But it was mainly because the line at Swig 1 was so long, and we couldn't get that store opened up fast enough. So opened up store number 2, March of 2013. Got featured on KUTV 2 News on their news segment in April. Didn't know they were coming. They showed up, free advertising. They said, you have been nominated as one of the top places to hit for spring breakers this year.
Wow.
And we want to highlight you. And I'm like, sweet, never done a TV interview. And I don't know how well I did with it, but he videoed the lines of cars. He interviewed customers, and one was like, I drove 2 hours for Swig today. And it was all, I didn't pay them to say that. It was just authentically them coming for it, and it kind of blew us out of the water as far as publicity. And so everybody driving through St. George had to go get their Swig fix. And that's when we brought on some partners that were mainly financial backing at that point. And that's when we started to scale.
Okay, so that up until then it was just you on your own, and then you brought partners in and investors.
Just 2 locations. Yeah, and then opened up 2 that year. Built out some procedures and systems to scale. I had to remove myself as manager from there and copy and paste myself. So help someone to care like I care for that team and the customers, and that's way easier said than done.
Yeah.
So, but then, opened Hurricane, which we've since closed. Probably could have kept it open now, knowing what we know. But and then Provo, across from BYU Cougar Stadium. And I was like, okay, will Swig exist in a cold climate? Like, that's the question. Will it? And so it was a big risk. And 3.5 hours from home.
Yeah.
And we got it into an old Pizza Hut building right there. Fixed it up again on our own. And within the first week, I'm like, and yes, it does. And yes, they drink soda even when it's snowing outside. And so it's like, okay, let's focus our time and energy into northern Utah. And we were going to do one in Cedar. And literally, we just said, okay, we need to focus up there because that's where it's at. And so we let that one go. But now we have one, so it's good. But so we focused our time and energy and money into northern Utah and Bountiful, Lehigh, Orem, Draper, all up in there, and scaled from, that's 2013 to 2017 to 17 locations. And I know this freeway like the back of my hands because I'm just driving cookies. So our cookies, we opened up our own bakery after a couple years down in St. George, and I'm driving cookies from St. George up to our Provo store for several months. My car smelled like a sugar cookie, which is a pretty good, air freshener. But found a bakery up in Provo that worked. But it was just very grassroots of like, we're just going to figure this out. And again, that probably goes back to my farm days of like, I'm just going to figure it out, and I'm not going to quit till the job's done. So.
Yeah, and that's a piece I don't want to overlook is like from the experiences you've shared so far is a lot of the hard work, like boots on the ground that you mentioned you were putting flyers in windows and doing a lot of that work on your own that I think a lot of people can look at you now and see how successful Swig is and just think like, wow, you had this genius idea and bam, you're
like, boom.
Yeah, you have all these locations or so.
Anybody who's started a business knows that that's never the case.
Yeah,
that
always.
is never the case.
Yeah.
It's hard work, blood, sweat, tears.
Yeah. So you ended up having 17 locations then. by 2017.
By 2017.
Right? So 7 years
So
in, you've got
yeah,
7.
so really in 4 years' time, grew from 2 stores to 17. So pretty good growth and very grassroots, like not very many people on the team.
Yeah.
So
can you speak a little bit more to the difficulty in managing that, especially where it was so important to you to have that culture? You mentioned trying to clone yourself and hire somebody to care as much as you care, and kind of maybe the process you went through, things you've learned to try and make that happen.
It's hard. It's really hard to find the people that care like you care is very difficult. But I think if you create opportunity for them and help instill a growth mindset with them and help them to let them lead out and let them make mistakes and then encourage them and coach them. We tell our managers, you're a coach. You're not their boss. You're a coach. You are a leader. We have what's called the Leadership and Training Program, and we want all of our team members to become the best leaders and people they can be, human beings. And so it was tricky. One of the questions you asked me is, what were some of like the hurdles? I was spread so thin that I was trying to be the district manager for Northern Utah. We had one, but she was spread so thin. And so I was trying to help with operations and all of that while still trying to keep these stores going down here. And I would have hired somebody for that quicker, but we were just in high growth mode. And so I was just trying to kind of keep my head above water while raise a family, at the same time. So yeah, I think that was the struggle of finding the people to run your locations was tricky. People is the biggest part of your business, and they're your asset. We can't grow without our people. But then that's also the challenge at the same time, is you can't grow without your people and the right people. So right now there's so much opportunity in the organization, so much opportunity, that we have a lot of people that want to be on our team. And it's probably it's the best it's ever been as far as the people go because of the opportunity. But that's not always been the case. Right. Where you're like, okay, we thought they were a good fit, and then they were gone within 2 months. Yeah. And that's always hard. And then that affects the morale and the culture. So culture is everything to us. We are culture builders in our locations. And I can walk into any location and I can tell pretty quickly how the culture is, because it's quiet, or if that's bad, it's quiet. There's not a lot of talking. The line is slow. Or I walk in and they're like, "Hey, Nicole," and and I make drinks with them, and like that's what we want. We want everybody to feel welcome, and so it's trying to just create systems and processes that help keep that culture strong. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to touch on one other piece that you've mentioned a couple times, some of the work-life balance, like all this work, how hard it is while trying to raise your 5 kids. I know. A lot of the women specifically can feel some like mom guilt for some of that you're so busy with that, but you want to spend time with your kids. And I know even I feel that as a father. Sometimes I'm so busy with work and feel bad missing out on some time with my kids. So how do you manage that and try and find that balance?
Mom guilt is so real, or dad guilt. It's just there. So yeah, I mean, when started Swig, my kids were between the ages of 4 and 14. I remember thinking when my youngest got into kindergarten, I was going to have all this free time and go to lunch with my friends and then Swig. And so then there goes that. But it is prioritizing your time. When I was at work, I was at work. And of course, if my phone rang and it was my kids, then I would do it. But when I was with my kids, when I'm with my kids, I am very present, and I will not look at my phone if if it's not an emergency, but I am just like, I'm here right here, right now with you. And helping them to see that sometimes you have to sacrifice. I have a picture of my youngest when he was 7, and it's just one location. I'm the manager. I'm doing a lot of the stuff, and I'd been working all day, and then I left to get them from school and make dinner, and we'd gone into town to run some errands, and we drove past Swig, which is always dangerous if you're my kids and I'm in the car, because if there's a long line, what do you think I do? I stop and I'm like, I'm just gonna go in and help them out for like 5 minutes. And they know that is a bunch of BS, and that mom's gonna go in and I'm gonna stay for probably an hour, because I'm like trying to catch them up and get caught up on dishes and whatever. So I have a picture of my youngest, and he is sitting on about 7 soda bibs, and he's like this, and he's just like he looks like he hates his life. But they all grew up with swig. Like at dinner time, they would be like, can we talk about something other than swig? I'm like, yes, we can. And so we move on to that. But they know what it's like to build a business and the work that goes into that. Now my sons are starting their own carpet cleaning business, and my daughter has started her own esthetician business. Awesome. So it definitely has shown them that you can do both, and you got to balance and prioritize and show up. Family is the most important. The business is second. So as long as you put that first, actually God is first, and then the family, and then the business. And I think if you prioritize that, you will find time in the day to make sure that you get all the business stuff done that you need to.
That's great.
Focus on your people mainly. That's your family and your team, and everything will work out.
I love the advice too. My wife gets mad at me when I'm taking work calls or whatever when we're spending time as a family. So I love that when you're with your family, you're just very intentional with that time to make it quality time.
Good time management.
Yeah, that's great. So with, I know 2017 you're at 17 stores, and then now today, I was just talking to Nicole before, you're at 90, going to be at 100 probably by the end of the year.
Isn't that crazy?
So yeah, that's
so crazy. I oftentimes will be like, this is not real. There is no way that we are almost to 100 locations. And honestly, guys, the best is yet to come. Like we're just getting started, really, because we're hoping to get to 500 locations in the next 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
And we'll get there. So we partnered with a company called 4 Foods Group in 2017. This is another part of the story. So by 2017, there is a lot of competition out there, and when the first knockoff or competition came about, and by the way, I think competition is good for everyone. A lot of people are like, how do you feel that they completely copied you? And I'm like, you know what? I copied kind of, the Sonic thing, and that's what entrepreneurship is. Like that's the American dream. So it hurt at first though, when it was literally like almost to a teen. I was like, oh, that is like my blood, sweat, tears, like all my hard work, and you just copied me. But it didn't matter, because it's fine that they're building their own business. But by 2015-16, there was definitely some competitors that were taking spots that we wanted. And I was like, well, dang, I wanted that spot, but now they have it. Maybe we need to franchise. Because then we could just really just plug and play and open a lot more. But the more that we went down that route, the legal route of it started first. I just felt sick about it because I didn't think we were ready for it. And because Swig is my 6th baby, and because I want to protect that culture and all of it, I knew that franchising, if you aren't ready for it, it could destroy that. And so I spent almost $100,000 on just getting the legal side of it set up, and then put a hard pause. Did not feel good about it at all. Almost a year of wait, not time yet. And got introduced to a man named Andrew Smith, and he had grown Kneaders from 3 locations to 60 plus. And I was like, oh, I love Kneaders. I love how they've grown. And I went to him with the question of, would you franchise? And that was it. Would you franchise? I love what you've done with Kneaders. And again, this is somebody who was very intentional with his time. I met with him for 2 hours, and his phone was down the whole time. He's meeting me for the first time.
Wow.
And he's like, first of all, I wouldn't franchise. You're not ready for it yet. He'd done Little Caesars franchises. He's like, it can destroy your brand. And he's like, I've seen what you're doing. And he's like, you've got something special. Don't franchise yet. You're not ready for it. So after about 2 hours, he's like, I really like what you've done. I like you. I'd love to partner with you. I'm starting this company where we buy into emerging restaurant brands, and then we scale them to where they need to be. And I'd love to help you do that. And I'm like, okay, that sounds amazing. Thought about it, prayed about it, and it felt so right to partner with them. I needed restaurant help at that point. I was 17 locations, just doing the best I can, trying to figure it out. I needed someone that knew the restaurant side of things and scaling.
And were all 17 of those in Utah at this point?
Yeah, one was in, I just opened one in Gilbert, literally the month I met him, Gilbert, Arizona. Yeah. That was a big jump, but it felt really good, and it was a good spot in a Costco parking lot. So all of them were in Utah. Yeah, from Logan down to St. George. So partnered with them December of 2017, and started refining the brand, changed the logo. The Swig guy, I said he went off to college, or he's on a hiatus somewhere, but we needed to kind of just clean up the logo, make it look a little more relatable and taken more seriously as we scaled it outside of this heritage market. I didn't want it to look too franchisey, but I needed it to be a little more clean and simple. And was that hard for me when we're sitting at this board table with my new partners and them saying this is something that you probably need to do? And I'm like, will our customers still feel like it's their swig? And there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into that logo and all of it. But I trusted in my partners. I leaned into their experience and said, yeah, let's do it. And now I love it. And it was one of the best things we ever did. But sometimes business owners and entrepreneurs can get in your way of growth because you feel like you have to hang on to that control. And my advice is you don't need all the control. The best idea wins at the table, and oftentimes it's not yours. So lean on your partners and your team. You partnered with them for a reason. They believed in you for a reason. But now it's time to share the load and let them. And if you hold on too much to all of it, you're not going to grow like you want to because you're still doing it all. You partner for a reason. Let them take that, which means they're going to have ideas and they're going to run with them. So let them run with it.
Yeah, I'm sure, especially just like you consider it your sixth baby, so that's
It was
a hard thing to trust somebody else to do that.
It was scary, but yeah, it all felt right. So yeah, so we refined the brand and then just started scaling throughout Utah and more in Arizona. But then we're like, let's show the world that Swig will exist outside of Idaho, Utah. We weren't in Idaho yet, but Utah, Arizona. Because a lot of people will be like, oh, well, you're a Utah thing. And I don't think this will work outside. I did some New York Times articles, interviews, and they're like, so it's a Utah thing? I'm like, Coke and Pepsi are billion-dollar companies for a reason, and it's not because of Utah. We're like the middle of the pack, if not lower. And so I knew it would work other places. So we ventured to Oklahoma and Texas because of their soda consumption. We did our research. Coke and Pepsi's done the research. We leaned on their research. And their high soda consumption, like they will appreciate this like I did and like we were in Utah. So we jumped 2 or 3 states and like, how does this look to support stores, managers, teams in Texas and Oklahoma? We learned a lot. How do you take that culture that you built here 3 states away? Yeah. We had some bumps. We learned a lot about, okay, we need to maybe insert some of our Utah team members into that market and show them really this is what we do at Swig. We're not your normal like fast food joint. We just aren't. We care so much about our team. We care so much about our customers. We will take your order person to person, never on a squawk box. So it's that type of connection that we were trying to create and did create. And so we have learned a lot. We have such amazing leaders. One kid, he was 17, that's why I say kid. He was managing our Layton location at 17, almost 18 years old. And that's that leadership program that I'm talking about. We don't grow without our leaders, our people. So he opened up that location and I went to him. He graduated like 2 weeks later and I said, hey, do you want to go open a store in Dallas, Texas? And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, but you could totally do it. You just rock this. We'd already opened like 2 or 3 in Dallas. And he's like, oh, I would love that. And his culture was just so good. He had so much energy. And so he moved literally a couple months after graduation to Dallas, Texas on his own. Wow. We helped him, but yeah, no family, friends. But he created an amazing culture down there. And because he did so well in Dallas, I'm like, hey, now do you want to go to Houston? And so he opened up a location, our first one in Houston, Texas. So that's how we've scaled, is our people and inserting that culture into these locations, into these regions, new regions, and helping them to buy into that secret Swig sauce or whatever.
And are you always promoting from within?
Yeah, we really like to. Recently, we've attracted a lot of other great talent that we're pulling into our corporate, but generally into the stores. Yeah, it's from within. So you have a team member who starts out at 16 years old. It's their first job. And we're showing them that, yeah, you have great leadership. We need you. They become a shift lead. They become an assistant general manager, and then they become a manager. And then we're like, do you want to be on our training team? Do you want to be on our new store opening team? We need lots of people. Do you want to be on this bus with us? And there's a great opportunity for that. So yes, we promote from within for sure, because they just already bought in from early on. It's just who we are.
And they buy in. They really see the value and the training opportunities to grow with the company.
Yeah, it's a lot easier that way.
Yeah. So I'm curious now, with this many stores open, do you ever get to play like undercover boss, where you go stop by a location and maybe they don't recognize who you are?
Yes, here's the thing. Yes, I do. And I don't do it like trying to do a gotcha moment. It's more of like, I love to go to our stores. Like, I love it. My kids are like, Mom, what will you do if you can't walk into a store someday? And I'm like, I don't know. You're going to have to literally tie me down in the car, because I love being in the stores. Don't put me in an office building or in meetings. You have to do those every so often, but that's where the magic happens, is on the front lines, because sometimes you feel like you're on the front lines. Like, it is like war, and you're just in there. You get messy within 5 minutes. But that's where it's at, is in those stores. And so I don't usually go through the drive-through. Sometimes I will if we have a carload of babies and kids, and oftentimes I will just jump out and go in and make the drinks and then. But I like to go in and see the team. I like to go in and see how they're doing and ask how the new cookie's doing, and oh, you have a soda machine that's down. Have you called that in? And how can I help you? And so our leaders, our people, are why we are where we are. I don't have a company or a business without our leaders. So for me, just to go through the line and be like, hey, I need, my drink, and see you later. I don't like that. I want to go in, but I do love to walk in I don't tell them I'm coming. I walk in, and a lot of times they're like, this lady just walked behind the counter like she owns the place. And because I oftentimes don't have a swig shirt on. I do a lot of times too, but I'll just walk in and I fake it till I'm just like, hey, how's it going? And I don't know who I've met sometimes, because it changes like all the time. And I just walk in, I'm like, how's it going? And start making a drink and ask them how their day's going and how, and then they're like, oh, that must be the owner. And now I'm on the training videos, and they do recognize me, but it's fine. I'm one of them. I will mop that floor, make the drinks with you, bust the line, take orders. In fact, that's fun. Let's go do it together. So.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to make sure we leave some time for Q&A from them, but I just wanted to ask a couple more things. So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that you have faced so far? Maybe even some failures along the way?
Yeah.
And what challenges do you see as you're continuing to expand? I mean, 500 stores is a lot to manage, as that's a goal that you have now.
Yeah.
So what challenges have you seen, and what challenges do you see moving forward?
Yeah. With business, you have to always be nimble and be willing to try something and go, oh, that didn't quite work. Let's try something else. I don't even like to call them mistakes, because they're learning opportunities. That's how you learn, who you are and what your business is. And you have to try stuff out. I mean, you've heard of how we started, yellow sticky notes and like, oh, there's a better way, like a point of sale that you can have an iPad. And I'm like, oh, that's genius. But you have to try certain things to know what works. At first, we started with shaved ice. We had that for 5 years, and it was such a pain in the butt. Like, the blocks of ice had to be perfectly the right temperature, and we were cutting ourselves on them. And the day that we said we were done with that, our managers all cheered. They're like, yes. So you have to be willing to try certain things, see if it works, but they're not failures. It is just a learning opportunity. We needed to see, is it all about a drive-through? Because that's how it started, and that was the idea. So we opened a location in a mall just to see if we needed that drive-through. And yeah, we do. We closed it with a couple years later. We're like, and the sales just weren't good. And we're like, okay, so we need a drive-through. We do have a few lobbies in some of our locations, but it is all about that drive-through. I would say some of the hurdles and challenges are just people. Getting enough people to build like you want to. So scaling, you have to have the leaders. You have to have the people. And you have to have the right people that care like you care and are going to protect that culture like you do. So the challenges are people, for sure, because we need lots of them right now. But there are a lot of eyes and ears on Swig right now, and probably more so than there ever has been. Yeah. And so a lot of people want to come work with us. And I'm like, yes, bring it on. We need all the amazing people that, want to drink that swig sauce and get dirty with us inside the stores. But it's all about the people. And so hurdles, people, but then again, that's the beauty of it too.
Yeah.
Like, I love our people.
Yeah, because
So.
I'm sure that makes it hard. Like, you want to grow quickly, but you don't want to rush it. And
That's
hire the
exactly
wrong
it.
people.
Slow and steady wins the race. And so a lot of people are like, okay, just open. Like, I could have franchised back in the day, and I didn't until just barely the last year. We opened up our first franchise store a year ago. Needed to be ready for it, develop the systems, processes, and the people to help. So our franchisees will succeed. When they win, we win. They're our partners. Are on our team. So we're finally ready for franchising, and we are doing it now. But yeah, we had to be ready for it. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah.
So one other question that I had is just, I'm sure you get asked all the time, even us asking you to come speak at this, you're asked for donations for all kinds of things. How do you kind of manage, because you only have so much time in it, you can't say yes to come speak at something like this every day, every week, you know?
Yeah.
And also making sure the company is
Yeah.
fine. You can't donate everything you have. So how do you kind of manage that when you're asked all the time
That's
for
such a
your
great
time, your
question.
resources? All
You know what? Because again, it's just been evolving. It's been evolving as we've gone, and I at one point was doing almost all of it. Right? It's hard to pass off those balls to other people to have them be doing it. So I now have a full C-suite team, which is like a CEO and a COO and a CMO and a CDO and a CFO. I didn't know there could be so many C's. I had no idea. But they all have an amazing job that they're doing. And so I can focus on, I remember when I met with Andrew Smith with 4Foods Group, now Savory, and as we're like, okay, yeah, let's partner. And he's like, what do you want to do, Nicole? Because they took on the accounting and the HR and the development and all of that. And he's like, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to go back to the people. I want to go back to what built us. So that's the teams and our customers. So what I do now is PR, obviously. And I'm a culture protector, builder still, and ideation. So any new products coming out, I want to make sure that it still fits with who we are, and that our customers are going to love it. And then I love to develop and help people know that they can do anything they put their heart into. And so to come speak to, this venue is exactly where I want to be, because I want people to know that you can achieve anything that you put your heart, mind, and soul into. And because this was such a long shot, and to see where it's at now. But I believed it. I stayed the course. I think I was talking earlier of like, I didn't get to it, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah. And don't go chasing the pretty penny. Be patient in how you build it, and intentional. Be super intentional about where you choose to spend your time and invest your money into. So it's a marathon, slow and easy, and don't get too greedy. For years, we were just rolling everything back in for the growth, because I could see where it was going. And to see us at that point, and still the future is like amazing. I'd say we're like in the middle of the race. Yeah. We're running the race. If you run the St. George Marathon, I don't know, where's the middle part? It's like Dameron Valley or something, I don't know, but we're in the middle. And it's going to get really good. Like, the world's going to know what swig is. The nation is now finding out what swig is. We're in Florida. We're in Tennessee. We're in Indiana. Here's a crazy story for you. We opened up a store in Florida just a couple weeks ago. And because there's so much hype about swig right now, which I'm like, guys, we've been here for 15 years, but I'm glad that you're all catching on, and what dirty soda is too. That's a whole nother story. But the dirty soda craze. So we opened up our store in Florida, and usually we do a soft opening for like 2 weeks of just to give the team reps, just making drinks. And then we do a grand opening where we do 3 free days. So anybody who dares to get in these long, crazy lines, they're literally like miles long, like 100 cars deep, all for just a free drink. Isn't that crazy? 3 free days, and it's advertising. So it's like, come try us. Once you try us, hopefully you don't want to go anywhere else. So two weeks of just like soft open the doors, don't advertise, and then 3 free days. So we opened the doors, turned on the light. It was gangbusters. We hadn't done any advertising as far as like, hey, there's a store in Orlando, Florida. And it was like 2-hour wait to get their drink. It was insane because they want to know what the swig craze is in Florida. So it's pretty cool to see where it's at right now. It is very surreal for me to see where it's at. But I feel very blessed. And again, I couldn't do without a team that's just like, we all go through the finish line together. Yeah. Arm in arm. And that's how we get to where we're going to go.
Awesome. I love it. I probably shouldn't admit it to you, but I was laughing with someone the other day that it's when you do things like that and it's like free drinks today. And I made the comment, I was like, they're probably waiting in line so long that they spend more in gas in line than they would on buying their drinks.
My kids are like, we'd never wait in that line. I'm like, I know, because you guys have your mom go in and make your drinks for you. So, yeah.
But no, I think that speaks volumes to the excitement you have created. They want to go experience it too.
I know. It's like, that's what we started with, and then we protected that. I don't know exactly how it's been done, other than I've been very present all along the way and kind of done like a swig culture shot in everybody that I meet, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
That's great. Okay, thank you. Well, let's give a round of applause for